Welcome back to my channel, and here's another video. This one's about threaded worms and how effective those can be in a trolling application. This is a method that I've come up with over years of experiment and trial and error and just seeing what is the most effective, and this system very much has worked for me. A good standby if you can't get live bait especially, and hard for them to resist. uh, give you how it's done, and at the end of the video I'll give you a little special secret that I have that makes it pretty much irresistible. So hope you enjoyed this one. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you would on these, because it really helps me out and gives me encouragement to keep them going. But tight lines, and hopefully this technique will get you some nice fish. Thanks.
There we go. That is dinner tonight. What a delight. There you go. Okay, here are the items that we're going to use during this process. You can see the hooks. We got bait holder hooks, number 6 and number 4. Seem to work very well for this. We've got the earthworms, large night crawlers. We've got the little fast clips at the end that makes it a little easier to keep everything together and to store. We're using an 8-pound test fluorocarbon. Supposed to be more invisible in the water, so that's what we're going with there. And then the worm threader is kind of a standard thing. You can get those almost all tackle shops. You can see the lengths that we've got there between the hooks, number 6 and then number 4, and then about 30 inches ends up being where the clip comes in. And then above that we got the power bait, the little teaser worms that we use. That come in various colors, and that works out very well. You can see next to it about the length that we're using. And there's our pipe wrap insulation that I use to store this after they're made up and ready to go. Keeps everything kind of tidy and from fouling up. And the little clips actually help to, they'll dig right into that foam as well as the hooks. Those are hoochies, wiggle hoochies that I've got on some of the rigs. That's another option, is to put a wiggle hoochie on there. I don't know how important that is. If it seems to be a tougher bite, you could have those available in case. And that's the basic components, and then we'll show you how to put them all together. Okay, here we are. Last little details. We're gonna start one of these. Show you how that's done. Okay, so I use about 5 foot, so as far as I can stretch. A little over 5 maybe, which is a stretch. Okay, then you can snell these if you like. I just tie them on. They're adequate that way. It's faster for me. So just a standard uni knot. Single uni through. Did I make it? No. Through and back through again. There you go. Pretty much like that there. Okay, so those are the knots I'm going to be tying on these. Okay. Cut off the excess. nice and tight. Okay, now on the other end of that goes the second hook. I'm using a number 6, that was a number 4, bait holders. Work great for me. A little bit longer shank on them, I think, is what mainly it is, and it's got a little barb to it that keeps things from crawling off. Same thing. Quick little loony knot. Easy for old eyes. Back through the top. Push it off. Wet it up. Slides easier. Okay, both those hooks are tied. But now, what we got is we want about maybe 2 inches away. We want the red, I'm in red because I just happen to have them, and you can see it a little bit better. That's a different hook. So I'm going to have this hook. So when I finish up, it's a little bit longer. I'm going about 2 inches or so longer than the other one. And you can adjust this up a little bit. It doesn't matter if there's a little bit of slack in these. I've not had a problem with the fish being put off by that. So that's kind of what we're after, is 2 ends of the hook. We're using a bigger worm, so that makes a difference there. And then I go up about 8 inches from that, just to give me some room. And then I'll just tie a simple knot in that. And then bring the tag end through. Bump, bump. So it's got, now it's 1 unit. 2 lines coming up here. Again, with this fluorocarbon, this small fluorocarbon especially, it's really not a big deal on having a little extra line. You could get fancier if you want, but I'm just doing a quick tie here to make it effective. Okay, run it through. This is the other nice thing about these. Run it through the bottom of your little clip, over the top of the little clip. Right, and it is held. Okay, so just a loop through there. Now that's stout as can be. And then I'll put another little knot, just a loop knot, close up in, just to keep it from wanting to expand and be an issue. So there's that bit. Easy enough. Okay, now the other options on these are you could tie a small treble on the back of the hook. The trailer hook could be a treble instead of the single hook. The only difference there would be you can't obviously thread it through the worm. You would just stick it through the side of the worm, and that can be effective too. The trailer hooks are critical to this whole assembly because the fish, either they're going to come up, see it, come up from underneath and grab the center of the presentation to damage the bait, right? So they think it's a fish. They have no idea what a worm is. So they're going to come up after the bait. They're going to try to hit it, maybe try to hit it in the head, stun it, so they can swallow the darn thing. Or, more than likely than not, so that's why you have the upper hook. The back hook is 90% of the time, I've got some underwater photos which kind of shows all this. They come up, they'll see all the flash that you have. You've got a lot of, you want to use a lot of flash ahead of this. It's not going to disrupt anything, and the vibrations through the water makes it feel like the fish feel it on their sides, that they got the sensor, that they got motion in the water, feels like bait to them. They come up, they see this thing, they're looking at, oh, what are you trying to do here? And but he can't resist. At some point you'll have this fish, lake trout especially, they just are ready to eat something. There it is. They'll put their nose on the end of this thing and follow it for a long time until you move it around or something happens, and all of a sudden they hit an aggression cue that tells them to bite. And a lot of times it won't be a very aggressive bite. It'll just be they want to nip the end of this thing. If it's a bait fish of some sort, they're going to damage it and be able to
let it sit there and come back around and get it head first, so it's easier for them to swallow, especially something this long. So that they're damaged the fish, but in that effort of biting the thing, they'll catch this back hook, and that'll make the hook set for you. Okay, so in the spirit of not damaging a worm we're not going to use, we are going to use this magic worm because it's like a worm. So if this were a night crawler, what you've got on a night crawler, there's a sex ring in the center. Okay, so the sex ring is actually the clitellum. I'm not going to say that. The mouth obviously is the shorter end. The ass is on the long end. Your threader. Come up through the worm. They will not be happy about this. Come through, come through, come through, come through, till you get up to the very nose of the worm. Right? Don't put your finger over this, these are sharp. So the worm will be laying on your worm threader like that there. Now, the trick to these, they're hollow, right? It's just a little tubing. So, this is going to be the top hook. It'll be the number 4, the longer hook. You're going to put the point of it into that little hole, right? And so now then, the rest of this is hold on tight, because that is where it'll mess up on you. So you're going to work the worm over this hook, but you've got to keep tension on it. This little knot there is going to help you accomplish that. You're going to come on to the hook, and you're going to keep threading. You cannot let up, otherwise it'll be a nightmare for you. You have to do another worm. Okay, so keep working him down, working him on the shaft. The knot's the worst part, the end of the hook to get through. But once he's done, then he's on like that there, like Donkey Kong. Done, right? Now, that's the first part. Now, we're going to go again. Now, the worm's going to have, a couple inches there left over where below the sex ring to there. So what I do is I come up maybe 3/4 of an inch or so, half, 3/4 from the end. So don't go to the end, come up about 3/4 of an inch from the end and go up towards the sex ring again through the center of this guy. Right? And we're going through, and we're going through, and then we're back out before the sex ring. So you got a little bit of distance in between there, a little bit of wiggle room for the worm. And take the other small hook in the tube end again, hold on to it for dear life, and then you pull that over, pull it over. Very important to have tension. A little bit of skill set to this. Okay, so now got this guy coming up on over the knot, right? Which is again is the hard part. Okay, so now he's past the knot. Okay, now, wada, ha 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 ha, he said. We have a finished product. Okay, so you have this guy up here. Now, your worm's nice and straight, see? It's going to fall through the water. This might have a little slack in it. Don't worry about it. You know, it's okay to have a little bit of slack. The closer you get to straight on is nice, but not the end of the world. You could tie another little knot up here if you want to get crazy about it. But it's good. And so Mr. Worm is going through the water like that. Now, the other thing that I do, and who knows, I mean fish, right? For some reason, and for some reason red, and I have no idea what that is, but it seems to be a thing. So a little teaser tail, and you put that on the end. You don't thread it, you just throw it through the hook there like that. Okay, bring it up on and on top. So now they're parallel, right? Ooh, almost looks like a fishtail, doesn't it? Makes you wonder. Okay, and so this is also flitting through the water. Mr. Worm is going to be very moving. He's still alive, he's still happening, and he's trying to get through the water. They exist underwater. And he'll be actuating here in the center between the two hooks, and he'll be actuating here and moving around. And I think that helps and is one of the reasons why a worm presentation is very effective, because the worm's kind of squirming around a little bit and the fish gets any little cue like that and it wants to attack because it's trying to get away, swim away, or whatever. Looks more natural, I guess. So the last thing that I do, which is probably going to be a karmic kickback for me, and I'll come back as a worm a million times, but I take the tail and I'll cut it at the very end. I'll just open it up. And if this were an actual worm, that would have guts coming out of it and it would be bleeding and there'd be scent in the water. And so that also, again, just from experience, makes a difference on hookup. So there you have, it's going to swim through the water like that. It's going to look very good. The distance, about maybe 30 inches from the flashers, is fine. Flasher's going to be going through the water. This guy's going to be about parallel with it, bouncing off of things, and the fish will want to hit this, and they'll want to swallow it. So be careful if you're going to use this type of presentation, even with these plastic worms that are all scented. Don't do it on a fish that you think you're going to want to release, or if that's important to you, because chances are they might swallow it deeper than what's going to make the fish survive the endeavor. So this again is kind of more of a, we're looking for meat on the table. Tacos are important, and we want to have that fish in the net. So we're going to use this technique because it's very effective. Or the fish are a little finicky on a bite. Worm a lot of times in a presentation will work very well. This time of year, I mean, I went through a thing on thermocline. Fish need to be in water that's comfortable for them. They want like 54 degrees, and that's not happening on the surface. So what happens is they'll come up and feed. This is more of a presentation for a fish that has fed or has been digesting, and it's down near the bottom, and it's in a more of a resting mode. They'll sit down there at depth and temperature and digest their food, and they're not going to be moving around a lot. So this is a slow presentation, a lot of smell to it, a lot of color. It goes by a fish. Mr. Fish is sitting there. He sees this thing, lake trout especially, but browns, anything like that that's a predator, they're keyed into, at some point, they want to see how easy this is going to be. Do I get another meal? And that's where they can't resist it. They'll come up, see it, they'll go slow, put their nose up against it, smell it. Okay, it looks safe enough. I'm going to take a little bite, nibble. Just one wafer thin mint is all. One more is all I need, and I'm going to be good. And so they'll pop it in their mouths, and boom, you catch them. Game over, or game on. So best of luck with this one. If you practice it, it is not very difficult to do. Great to have a bunch of these made up, because you are going to be fishing the bottom, so you're going to catch them up on the bottom. That 8-pound test will break on you, and you'll save your flashers, which are more expensive than the hook costs. So that will make it more enjoyable, and you can keep going on your fishing trip and be productive in the water. Tight lines. GoPro style.